What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So a little different setup. We're back to my live stream area and where I do the sneaker reviews on my other channel, because I really wanted to sit down for this one, because in this video we're talking about the 11, specifically 11, not 10 fragrances that have been the most important to me in my life. Monumental points for different reasons, and I don't know what made me think of this idea in the first place, but I don't know, just felt like a video I wanted to do, so we're going to do that here today. They are in chronological order throughout my life, so hope you enjoy this video, because I'm going to. Stay tuned. Starting with what wasn't my first fragrance ever, but the first fragrance I ever wanted, that I actually asked my parents for and got a gift set for Christmas that year. We're talking about Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger. I have many bottles over the years of this. Recently opened this 50 milliliter bottle up because I finished a 30 milliliter bottle not that long ago. Is it a shell of what it was in the 90s? Of course it's not. The same richness and performance and all the romanticized ways we look at fragrances of our past. Sure, I'm sure it was way better than what it is today. But it still has that slightly bitter, juicy, citric smell. A little crisp, fresh, spicy, very green. Just smells like something you need to rock with a polo shirt. Something that, you know, needs a collar and a couple of buttons. It just, I don't know, I've always looked at it that way. I mean, this was the heyday of when Tommy Hilfiger's logo wasn't just the flag. Back when it had that logo that was kind of similar to the Bugle Boy logo. Those of you of my era and my age group remember Bugle Boy. They called those the fake Tommies. Y'all remember that kind of stuff when we were younger? That's kind of funny. But all-time great. I'll always have a bottle. I have another 50 ml bottle sitting in the wings waiting for the one day many years from now when I go through this bottle. And so on and so forth. I will always have it because for me this is literally the most important fragrance ever to me, because it's the first one I ever really wanted. And we're talking 5th or 6th grade, something like that. It's Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger. Then as we move into later into 6th grade, going into 7th grade, the first bottle I ever had of this was, I believe it was a 40 ml. It was a small bottle. And that's why it kind of just stabs me in the heart when people call it an old man fragrance, because I was a kid wearing this to school dances. We used to have school dances at the Lease Park Gym every Friday, and then when I got to junior high at Evergreen, obviously we had so many of them a year in the gym over there. But Ralph Lauren Polo, or as it's dubbed these days, Polo Green. This is obviously a newer bottle. Still smells just like I remember it too. Another one where it's been romanticized of how it used to be. Because when I was wearing this, we're talking almost 30 years ago when I had that bottle, and it's much older than that since this came out. Late 70s, early 80s, something like that. I want to say late 70s. The green and gold. I've always thought of money and success when I look at this. And you know, part of me wants to think that's the method behind the color scheme here. Green and gold. Dollar bills and gold bricks and gold jewelry. And I'm just money and success. It's how I've always viewed it. I could see where it comes across as dated or the old man smell to people, but I love the piney green aromatic tobacco smell to this one. Light spice, loads of woods and clean musk. It's still strong. I love this fragrance. Another one that I went without a bottle for several years. I rebought it a few years ago, and once in a while I wear it during the cooler months. It's not something I reach too often, but reach for too often, but nostalgia to the 10th power. I think of the school dances, and you know, those of you from South Louisiana, DJ Jubilee's heyday when he was spinning on the radio and everything, and just all the stuff that would play the dances. I think of that when I wear this fragrance, Ralph Lauren's Polo Green. And it's just dawning on me for this one, I should have grabbed my vintage bottle, because it was actually that kind of stuff that I was wearing back then, but Nautica Classic, or it was just called Nautica. I do have one of the old bottles as well. It is a different fragrance, noticeably different. The vintage ones are richer. It's a thicker smell, still fresh fragrance, but a thicker smell. Has more florals to it, denser woody backbone. This is basically just a saltwater aquatic shower gel fragrance. It's a shell of what it used to be, but another one that I've been through so many bottles of the old formula, and I've been through I want to say one bottle since it was classic, and obviously I'm getting towards the end of this bottle as well. I do have another bottle. Like I said, I have a vintage bottle. I have the vintage aftershave with a nice dent in it. That's not spoiled or soured or anything. Look, this is nothing special. It just reminds me of my childhood. This was when I took a break from this. I started wearing this and the old bottle of Nautica Competition, the old gray bottle. I had that around this time. That's when I was really getting into Nautica after the heavy Tommy phase, which I've never really gotten completely away from Tommy Hilfiger clothing and stuff like that. But Nautica had its heyday and had its run back then. And I had many bottles of this. And again, one I'll always have in the collection that it's like a 2-hour fragrance. It's literally nothing special. It's completely passable to most people. It's not something I recommend people to go get. But if you're from my era and it's something you were wearing as a kid, that's who I recommend to get it for nostalgia's sake. Nautica Classic. This fragrance ran the 90s. Not CK1 in my area. Sure, CK1 was popular. But Acqua di Gio? Oh, man. This is the 90s. Yeah, Issey Miyake, Lodisi, and CK1. And sure, they all define the 90s. But for me, my group, where I grew up, my area, the people I knew, the people I was around, it was this. This hit the scene so hard. Everybody had to have this. This was what Sauvage and Bleu de Chanel have been in the modern era, where it's everywhere you go, you smell it. Acqua di Gio, in my opinion, the greatest men's fragrance of all time. Not just because of the sales numbers. I really believe it to be because I'm a 90s nostalgia buff because I was a 90s kid. 80s baby, 90s kid. So, and to me, this defines the 90s. Even though personally, for me, this was my weapon of choice in the 90s, I did have a small bottle of this as well at one point, because everybody had it at one point. Clones were prevalent back then too. There was the inspiration fragrances and stuff like that weren't even close enough, really. Not like clones of today. Iconic, aquatic, fresh, citrus, a little green, very musky, chemically synthetic, but wildly popular, highly complimented. Compliments galore with this profile all time. Just king of the mountain for that. That's why people to this day still buy tons of bottles of this. Because women love the way this smells, especially in the 90s and 2000s. But yeah, to me, this is the 90s. It's Giorgio Armani's Acqua di Gio. Then after the big mad rush of Acqua di Gio, which was still crazy popular, still the number one at this point, kind of switched into Curve for Men, was what a lot of my friends were wearing, and my weapon of choice around that time, late 90s, early 2000s, was Azzaro Chrome. I'm one of the original Chrome guys. This is my, somewhat newer 30 ml, because I just kind of have it. I wear it once in a while. I have a lot of respect for this fragrance. I love the flankers. I'm glad that they still put out flankers that tie to the original's DNA. Because honestly, I think this is the greatest shower gel, blue shower gel smelling fragrance of all time. It's very metallic, citric, and synthetic, while being very aquatic and soapy. Hence the shower gel smell. Clean and musky, not super woodsy on my skin, but still performs pretty well too. This bottle still performs. I get 8 hours out of this. This bottle's 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. Like I said, a little bit of a dent in it. I don't wear it all that often, but once in a while I like to, just for nostalgia's sake. Iconic to me. Again, this was the early teens for me, early to mid teens. I was absolutely rocking the hell out of this, and I still had a rebuy of this by that time, a rebuy of this at that time. Hadn't rebought this yet, but yeah, to me, one of the greats, at least in my life. Azzaro Chrome. Now, one of the things that, goes back to my story of always being into fragrance, or colognes, as we were calling them back then. Every year, I would get a fragrance. Every year. Whether it was a wrapped present or a stocking stuffer small bottle. In this case, it was stocking stuffer. But 3 years, I want to say, in a row for Christmas, my dad had got me this. This was when I was living with my dad after my parents divorced, when I was in my mid to late teens. He would get me a bottle of Aspen Discovery, Long discontinued. I have a few of these 75 ml bottles just for the sake of having it. This is super basic. Musk, woods, lavender, and citrus. It is a basic barbershop fragrance. Done to death barbershop. But it's got that little something different that really reminds me of those times. It is the last fragrance that I got as a Christmas gift from my dad. And yeah, so it's always held a special place in my heart. I like to have a few bottles on hand, even though I don't really wear it. Once in a blue moon, ever so often, I'll spray it. I mean, hell, we'll give it a little. See, it's lost prime and everything. Give it a little spritz. And this is a fragrance from the early 2000s. It's not spoiled. It's not soured. It's low quality synthetic, chemically synthetic ingredients. Store your fragrances properly, guys. They don't expire that quick. They really don't. It just takes me back. Spicy aromatic barbershop stuff. If you like barbershop, quintessential right here. Again, nothing special from a profile standpoint, but from a nostalgia standpoint, arguably the most special. The long discontinued flanker to the famed Aspen. We've got Aspen Discovery. Now, a lot of you heard me talk about this one many times over the years as the turning point fragrance, where I realized, like, holy shit, I'm like really into fragrance. I like aromas a lot. Like at this stage, I had double-digit bottles, and we're talking the early 2000s here, long before any online fragrance communities or anything like that. The greatest blue aquatic of all time, in my opinion. Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. It's still the best of the bunch. As far as I'm concerned, this is still the best smelling light blue is the original. I love and enjoy all of its flankers. This is the best smelling one. Another all-time great compliment getter for guys. Grapefruit, citrus, peppered, aquatic, black pepper, peppered grapefruit is the way to look at it. A little smoky, nice and aquatic and musky and woodsy. I still get like 5 hours out of it. I fell in love with this fragrance. I've told the story so many times. My uncle got it before I did when it launched back in 2005. I think was its release year. And I smelled it on him like, holy shit, you smell amazing. And he would let me spray it when I'd come over and everything. And had to have it. I got it that year. I got a gift set because I loved getting the gift sets at Dillard's because you'd get a big bottle plus the aftershave. Plus they'd usually have some kind of duffel bag or backpack. Y'all know how the gift sets go. I don't know how prevalent that is still because I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in many years at this point. But that was the thing. You could get this special holiday gift set, right? Christmas time was always the time to re-up on your colognes, So that was what I did. I've had this a few times. I got this 40 ml on clearance for, in the teens. I forgot how much when I lived in Texas at Marshall's. And just slowly been working my way through this one. As I get closer to the bottom of the bottle, I'll rebuy it. It's a bona fide cheapie these days. Around 40 some odd bucks you can get the big bottle. I'll never buy a 200 ml. That's just, the bottle's just big and awkward. But Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, in my opinion, the greatest light blue, because that's a subcategory to blue, the fresher, more aquatic blues. The greatest of them all. And the one that made me realize, holy shit, I'm really into fragrance. Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Now, this was simpler times. This was broke MF Ross, which was around the time that I met my wife. And I, not long ago, finished up the old vintage bottle, but I kept the cap and put it on one of these bottles. We're talking about Adidas Moves. This is the newer style, part of a gift set. And this is the cap from the old one, because this is what the newer caps look like. It's got the actual indentation of the 3 stripes. But I had it was a lighter grayish blue juice. The bottle was different. You had the Adidas logo was printed real big on it. Another one, sporty meets barbershop, on the fresher citrus side. Doesn't have all the spice of these aromatic barbershop fragrances. But I mean, this is the main thing that I was wearing when I met my wife. I still had, quite a bit of fragrance. I still had Nautica. I still had Tommy around that time. I had Aspen Discovery. I had Aspen. I had a lot of cheaper fragrances at the time because I always wanted to have something in the rotation. Like I said, I've always been into fragrance. And you do what you got to do when you don't have a pot to piss in for the most part, right? I was rocking Adidas Moves. So this is a nostalgic tie for both of us because This was kind of my go-to, kind of my signature scent in many ways, though I haven't really had a signature scent since I was a kid, when I would only have, 2 or 3 fragrances at a time. Because by this point, I always had, 10 or 11, 12 different things. OP Juice. Y'all remember the original OP Juice with the gel cover on the bottle? Still had Chrome around that time. Just goes on, but this was the main thing I was rocking during that time. Very nostalgic. Reminds me of much more simpler times, I guess you could say, but reminds me of the beginning of my relationship, too. Adidas Moves. Last fragrance that I can say was kind of my signature scent. I was wearing this and another one of the fragrances from this brand were my back and forth. I had other things, but it was during its heyday. We're talking Ed Hardy, and we're talking Love and Luck. This is my original bottle. I do have some backup bottles. The citrus is slightly soured. I got a little less than half of it left. And I never would douse myself in the fragrance. This stuff was strong. It's still so good. After a couple of minutes, that slightly soured citrus is gone, and it's fresh and spicy and a little melon. In the vein of Creed Millésime Impérial, but it's a little bit spicier than that. Love the design. Always have. Me and the wife were very much into Ed Hardy during those times. We were smoking cigarettes back then, so we had the Ed Hardy lighters, like the Ed Hardy Zippo style lighters, and the disposables. Had the Ed Hardy belt, a couple Ed Hardy t-shirts. It was during the heyday. We're talking late 2000s, 2010 era. We're talking really like '08. Yeah, '08, '09. This was my go-to. I'll never get rid of this bottle because I'll probably never finish it anyway. Once in a while, I like to go back to it. The other fragrance I was speaking of that I used to wear all the time was Hearts and Daggers, which I do have 2 bottles of that as well. I still have my original bottle and a backup bottle because they got really cheap. I grabbed the backup bottle before they switched to, I think it's New Wave Parfums or whatever, when they changed distributors and watered the fragrances down more. Because this was like every bit of an 8-hour fragrance on my skin. This is the old original one. So it's not New Wave fragrance anymore, I don't think, because this is New Wave fragrance. Because this came from Stage. The department store Stage. This was part of a gift set that I got for Christmas from my brother and sister-in-law. Had bought me this for Christmas. This was the year before we got married. Yeah. And I fell in love with this fragrance, guys. This was hype to me back then anyways. But yeah, in the vein of Creed Millésime Imperial, the last fragrance that I can kind of say was my signature scent, because I was going back and forth to it for quite a stretch of several months. Ed Hardy, Love and Luck. Now, the reason this one is important, because it's my first niche fragrance. I won it in a raffle on Facebook, or as they call them on Facebook, the waffles, because you can't say raffle, apparently. I had been playing the raffles a little bit. I was maybe 6 or 7 spots purchased at this point. Like, I hadn't put a ton of money into trying to win a bottle, but ended up winning a bottle of Creed Aventus. This is a 19 S11 batch. This was my first niche fragrance. Was Creed Aventus, of all things. On a $19 spot, $20 spot, something like that. I bought 1 spot in one of those raffles. And I won this. Yep, it's a 19 S11, very pineapple heavy. Pineapple and musk, not super smoky, but yeah, a little bit of a dent going in it. I don't wear Creed Aventus all that much because I have, an entire large fragrance collections worth of fragrances that smell like this fragrance in some form or fashion. But at the end of the day, everybody should try the original just to know what it's about, what the original profile actually smells like before you start going down the rabbit hole of every Tom, Dick, and Harry brand on the planet making their version of the fragrance. So that's why this kind of holds some weight to me and is very important, because no matter what fragrance it would have been, the first niche fragrance is kind of special when it comes to being an enthusiast and having a larger collection and really being into this as a hobbyist. It's a monumental turning point, because I have many niche fragrances at this point, but the very first one, go figure, was Creed Aventus. And the last fragrance, I think this will be pretty obvious on why it's pretty special to me. Business over pleasure. This was due to an opportunity that George provided me to be able to create my own creation that I'm so proud of. It was such a moment in time for me because this is when I was selling cars at Mercedes-Benz, a privately owned dealer. Yeah, so it was very, very upscale dealership because, you know, we wore suits and ties on Saturdays no matter what, and I used to call it Suit and Tie Saturdays. So it's part of what the beginning of this channel. Go back and watch my early videos. I talk about Suit and Tie Saturdays and Game Day, because Saturday was Game Day. The Game Day fragrance, that was a thing at the beginning of the channel, because that's the day you should make some money. That's the day you should churn at least two car deals out the door at minimum on a Saturdays. If you didn't sell 2 cars, it was a bad Saturday. 2 to 4 cars. If you sold 4, you were busy all day. You know, good times. I really had good times. But office setting, that was my life back then. Professional luxury market office setting. I created what I deemed to be the ultimate fragrance for that setting. I think that through my mind into Claude Deer's talents, this was birthed and came to life. It's a fresh iris fragrance. Has different woody nuances of Gaiac wood and Palo Santo, not your typical woody base. A little bit of amber, clean musk. It's got some ginger that gives this creamy, slightly fresh, spicy tone. Powdery, natural Florentine iris. You get a little hit of some Sichuan pepper that fleets. You get this quick hit of heat that slowly, you know, not slowly, but rather quickly fades away. You just get spice for a little bit. A big, juicy hit of bergamot. Just very office setting friendly, very professional, very dapper, nuanced, not basic, but nuanced, not loud and in your face, but some pretty good longevity. At least that's always been the way it's performed on me. And this was the prototype bottle. I do have another bottle that I've sprayed from, but there you have George in the suit. It's playing card design. And then on the other side of the playing card, me with one button undone on the polo shirt, because that's how I wear them with my flat bill. Yep. And my logo. That logo right there. That fun fact, Nathan Paragon Fragrances created that logo for me many years ago. And, yep, super monumental. Because Evening Mystique could go in here, but, you know, Evening Mystique doesn't happen without this and the success of this. And the, you know, support of you guys in the first place. This doesn't happen without you guys. And the follow-up to this doesn't happen without the success that this had because of you guys. So thank you guys for that and for this. And I felt like this was a great way to wrap it up because, of course, this is one of the most important fragrances in my life ever. Because you want to talk about a turning point, I got to create a luxury fragrance from scratch with a master perfumer that didn't cost me $1. How cool is that, right? So, TLTG reviews in Zaharoff. Business over pleasure. Well, that's the 11 most important fragrances in my life all time as I sit here at 39 years of age, a few months before I turn 40. I don't turn 40 for another, we got most of September left, so we'll count that as a whole month, October, November, December, into the end of January, so almost 5 months before I hit that big 4-0. And it's been quite a journey through fragrance because the journey through fragrance kind of started around like 9-10 years old. That I've been into it, you know, at least kind of into it and understood the importance of wearing a fragrance when you dress up to go to dinner or go to church or eating after church or family get-togethers, school dances. I've always looked at fragrance as an important piece of your wardrobe to bring the best of you forward wherever you're going to go. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe before you leave. I'll see you on the next one.